Welcome back to the Hannahcast YouTube channel, and today it is time for updated Oscar predictions, this time for September in the category of Best Picture. So yeah, we're in the middle of what's the beginning of the Fall Fest season. Right now, Telluride has just started. We're kind of in the middle of Venice going on right now. So there's a lot of things that we do now know that we did not know before. I will say before we get into what I think is going to be getting into Best Picture, let's just say bye to movies that are pretty, just rest assuredly not getting into Best Picture. One, The Testament of Ann Lee. When you look at the letterbox curve that it has, I mean, good God, people cannot make up their minds as to what they think about this movie. I mean, it is like it's almost like a flat line. My God, like so many of the stacks are really high up. So yeah, a film like this is not like the good kind of polarizing. This is the kind of polarizing that like is just genuinely going to be like no nominations. Like this kind of reminds me of Mother, where like everyone was just so all over the place as to what their opinion was of the film, to where like in that year, Mother was basically kind of like just generally hated by audiences, and then maybe a little bit later on down the line people will like reevaluate it, and I feel like that's kind of what's going to happen with The Testament of Ann Lee. It's like this feels like an audience punching bag at first. I mean, granted, I don't think it's going to be as popular really, but this is the kind of film that's just probably no nominations, sadly. Frankenstein, I can pretty much rest assured that's not going to happen in Best Picture. The reviews are fine. I mean, they're decent. Like, on Rotten Tomatoes, it has like a 78%, but the average rating is like 7.5. Metacritic, 73%. And even the Letterboxd curve is not like amazing. And for a genre film, you need to be amazing. You need to have like amazing reviews. You know, like Sinners, and we'll talk about Sinners here in a bit. But like, Sinners has the critical backing and the audience backing to sort of counteract the whole genre thing. But Frankenstein, it's not quite doing that. It looks like it's just going to be text and nothing else. Then we have The Wizard of the Kremlin, which just has bad reviews, just straight up bad reviews. Like 46% on Rotten Tomatoes, 48% Metacritic. Again, not strong at all. And then also we have After the Hunt. Genuinely goodbye. Rest in peace. This film is getting no nominations. Like, it has a 46% in Rotten Tomatoes, 55% Metacritic, and even on Letterboxd and IMDb, the ratings are, like, the curves are just completely polarized. So I'm more so on IMDb. But this is the kind of film where, like, not even Julia Roberts is going to recover from this. Like, this is the kind of film that's just going to get no nominations whatsoever. So, yeah, we've had to say goodbye to a lot of films. And you're probably wondering, wait, how are you getting all these, things on Letterboxd? Like, how are you able to see Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb? Well, I actually found it's like a browser extension. It's called Letterboxd Extras, and it lets you see the Rotten Tomatoes scores, the IMDb scores, the Metacritic scores, the cinema scores, and whatever else, like if you kind of look around the settings of the extension, and it just puts that all into Letterboxd, and it actually makes it very convenient. This is not sponsored, by the way. This is absolutely not sponsored, but however, I just think it's really cool, really useful, so I'd probably suggest checking that out. And also, before I start my predictions, I do want to let you guys know that I still have memberships open, and I'm posting regularly regarding the, updates for the films that are premiering at these fall fests. Like, I have 3 videos up discussing, quick little updates on the reviews for some of these movies, the initial ratings. My most recent one, I think, was where I discussed The Testament of Ann Lee and how I think that's definitely not getting any Oscar nominations. And stay tuned, because I'm going to be doing this for a lot of like big major films that premiere at the fall fests. So consider becoming a member. It's only $2 a month, and you also get like, emojis, badges, members only videos, which I just explained, members only live chats, which I'm going to be doing on Monday afternoon, which is actually probably today afternoon, I guess. Early access to Oscar predictions videos. So, hey, if you're a member, you're watching this right now, say hi. But yeah, consider becoming a member. It really means a lot. Anyways, let's get started to the predictions, shall we? All right. I still will have Sinners at number 1. I don't want to jump the gun too quick, because I know there's some big buzzy films that have premiered. One that we'll definitely get to here in a bit. But I don't want to jump the gun and say that Sinners is losing right now. Because, like, I still feel like this would do very well, not only on a preferential ballot, but it kind of has the... not only the reviews to pull off a Best Picture win, but it's captivated audiences. It can win a lot of guilds, because that's the thing, the guilds matter. I don't care what BAFTA does, I don't care what the Golden Globes do. What matters are the guilds. And what film this year could probably win most of those guilds? Probably Sinners. And again, when you look at a lot of the Best Picture winners and compare them with the audience scores at the time, they usually do kind of match up with how audiences kind of thought. And something like Sinners, I feel like, would be the kind of film that general audiences would kind of go with, in a sense. Even though, yeah, we're talking about the industry, but, you know, obviously, like, the industry and the audiences do tend to sort of align a bit when it comes to the winners for Best Picture, at least in terms of general reception. But still, and also Sinners kind of has much of a relevancy to it, especially in today's political climate. Like, Sinners just kind of feels like that movie that would triumph. But again, we'll have to see what happens. And I will probably still have sentimental value, because I could see this doing very, very well at Golden Globe and BAFTA. Like, even despite what's been going on right now, sentimental value does feel like the kind of film that would win some of those precursors. It's gonna get a lot of nominations for a non-English language film, and usually when it comes to a film like that, this is gonna be a non-English language film that's gonna be nominated everywhere. You know, the Globes, Critics' Choice, BAFTA, probably even the guilds as well. It's probably going to get in for like PGA, DGA, SAG Ensemble. It's probably not, well, and it's not going to be eligible for Writers Guild, but still. For a film like that, a film like a non-English language film that's getting into PGA, usually that means it's like in the top 5 somewhere. So I'm still going to say sentimental value. I still think, again, I probably think it would maybe win BAFTA. We'll have to see. And then we get to Hamnet, probably the film that I have underestimated the most this season, because I was like, I'm not sure what to make of this film. And to be fair, I didn't have a lot to go off of. And even with the trailer, I was like, I'm not sure, because Chloe Zhao, it's like, all right, she did very well with Nomadland, but I don't know how well that film would have done, you know, if it hadn't been like a pandemic year, because it kind of felt like even though I wasn't a big fan of it, it felt like for most people that was like the cozy, you know, sympathetic film that people kind of wanted around the COVID times. But now that that's not the case, and, you know, we also had Eternals, and Eternals was not well received at all. In fact, it was the first Marvel Studios film to not get good reviews. And I know some people were going to say, well, I mean, aren't those movies just director for hire? I mean, sure, but at the same time, that was also the first movie where Kevin Feige, you know, kind of let Chloe Zhao, have the reins. Like, basically the first kind of Marvel Studios film where Kevin Feige kind of let the director do whatever they want. And within reason, obviously, because I'm pretty sure there still has to be some things that tie in, but for the most part, it was mainly that was more of a director's vision kind of film than any other Marvel film beforehand, and it didn't really feel like Chloe Zhao understood the assignment, really, because again, the movie did not please people at all. So I was kind of like, I don't know. I don't know about Hamnet. And plus, also, when you're talking about sort of the sophomore or coming off of your Best Picture win, it's kind of a risk, and considering we don't really there's not as much of a large filmography for Chloe Zhao. So I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen here, and obviously the set photos weren't really selling me. So I was like, I don't know. But then the reviews came out. Actually, no, not, yeah, the reviews came out and they were insane. They are insane. Like, the reviews are absolutely insane for this movie. Because the letterbox curve, it is just a ladder. It, like, the ratings just keep getting better, like, the further you go. And on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 100% with an average rating of 9 out of 10, and on Metacritic, it has a 95. This is the kind of film that's, okay, it's just, not only is it locked in for Best Picture, it's also gotten Chloe Zhao in for director. Like, Chloe Zhao is going to get nominated for director for this. And also, I would probably, a little bit of a spoiler for next week, I think Hamnet's winning adapted screenplay. Because there's nothing else that's going to, like, at least right now, we'll have to see how, like, TIFF goes and all that, or, whatever else pops up at the fall fests. But right now, nothing seems like it's going to have the amount of acclaim in the adapted screenplay category as Hamnet. So I feel like that's just kind of destined to win. And not only that, but apparently this is Writers Guild covered. It is, like, Hamnet is Writers Guild covered, so that probably means that it's gonna win Writers Guild as well. So yeah. And also, not only that, but people are praising Jessie Buckley and already saying that she's gonna win Best Actress for this. At this point, it just seems undeniable. I tried denying it for the longest time, but hey, I was wrong. Hamnet is at bare minimum, a top 5 contender, maybe a top 3 contender. But again, do I really think it's going to win a lot of these guilds? I don't know. I don't know how accessible it's going to be for general audiences. So, and I want to wait to see what happens there, because we don't know what could happen on that front. So I will still stick with Sinners because I feel like it's the safe pick right now. But yeah, Marty Supreme. This is also a newer edition ever since, I did my last Best Picture predictions video. But yeah, Marty Supreme is in Best Picture. At least probably. Like, this is looking pretty different from the other Safdie movies that I've seen. It's not going to be, like, as handheld. It's not going to be, like, as aggressive. It looks a lot more, like, clean and and more swift in terms of its filmmaking style. And the fact that it's going to be like a sports adjacent film in Best Picture, it's like you can also see it doing well in editing and all that stuff. So yeah, I think Marty Supreme, like again, who knows what could happen? Maybe it's just a dud and all that. Who knows? But right now, I think, yeah, it's probably in for Best Picture right now. And it can get nominated for a lot of stuff. But I guess the one thing is, like, I don't know if it can really win anything. That's another issue. I'm not sure what it could win, unless they just go for it in editing because it's sports. But I don't know if that's really happened a lot. I don't know. And then there's Rental Family at number 5. Again, there's a lot of stuff you can nominate this for. You can nominate this for original screenplay would kind of need to happen for a film like this to get into Best Picture. Brendan Fraser is a very strong contender for lead actor. It could probably get nominated for Best Casting, and, maybe score. We'll have to see. And also, it could maybe get, like, a supporting actor nomination. But yeah, and also it also is competitive for SAG Ensemble. But the thing is, if it wins SAG Ensemble over Sinners, I think that says more about how weak Sinners would be compared to the rest of the films. Because Sinners is kind of that's the film that's, like, kind of gift wrapped the SAG Ensemble award. So again, we will have to see what happens. And I feel pretty good about this top 5. I mean, obviously, the two that have not really been released yet or premiered yet are Marty Supreme and Rental Family. But again, who knows? Then we get to the bottom 5. I'm still very confident in it was just an accident. Especially now, since some of the films that people were thinking were going to get in are probably not happening. Like Jay Kelly, I don't think it's going to happen. We'll talk about Jay Kelly here in a bit. After the Hunt is absolutely not happening. So I feel like Accident, that's a film, it has a pretty strong package that it can get. Picture, director, original screenplay, and international if France submits it. That's the thing. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, it's not going to get nominated for international. As long as France submits it and they're not stupid, then it can get nominated there. And I am willing to bet that they will select that film because, you know, I don't think they want another Anatomy of a Fall on their hands. Another film that won the Palme d'Or that ended up that ended up getting nominated for a ton of Oscars, including picture, lead actress, director, and even winning original screenplay, but France didn't submit it, and, you know, they got egg on their face. So I feel like France has got to come through for this film, I think. Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. All right. This was another interesting one because, you know, now we have seen how this film has premiered. This film has premiered over at Telluride, and the reviews are good. They are good. The reviews are good. The, ratings are overall pretty good. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 100%, which is interesting, with a 7.3 out of 10, and on Metacritic, it has a 69 out of 10. And one could probably say, well, these ratings aren't amazing, but yet I would also argue for a movie like Springsteen, like, remember how I said earlier where, like, I feel like if something like Frankenstein wants to get into Best Picture, it needs to have incredibly stellar reviews? But that's because it's tackling, like, a genre that's, like, kind of risky and doesn't really get nominated for Best Picture a lot. Springsteen, Deliver Me From, we'll just say Deliver Me From Nowhere. Deliver Me From Nowhere being, like, a biopic, especially a music biopic at that, starring a very, popular actor, all it needed to do was just not suck. In terms of the reactions and reviews, all it needed to do was just be good enough. And it can get into Best Picture. And the reviews have come out, and they're good enough. Like, even if they're not spectacular, again, it's good enough. It was good enough for Elvis. It was good enough for A Complete Unknown. And it's good enough for Deliver Me From Nowhere. And I'm especially thinking it could do even better in the U.S. considering, Bruce Springsteen is like an American icon. So I think it might resonate with Americans even more. So, yeah. Then at number 8, I have Avatar: Fire and Ash. Look, again, I said it before and I'll say it again. I will doubt James Cameron when the day comes. Like, until I am proven wrong, I will put my faith in James Cameron. Like, people can say, no one cares about Avatar anymore, but Avatar: The Way of Water literally made $2 billion. And, it still got very good reviews. I mean, and granted, it did not get nominated for as many Oscars as the first Avatar, but there's also like a big time gap where, like, Avatar was clearly doing things that no movie was really doing that much, whereas, now it's like, now things have changed a lot, so you probably couldn't nominate it for as many stuff. But again, who knows? But I'm still willing to go with Avatar: Fire and Ash. I'm still willing to go for it. How many awards will it get nominated for is interesting. I'm still willing to say it could still get the same nominations as the last one: picture, visual effects, sound, production design. I mean, if there's not any competition at all, maybe they could still do cinematography. I mean, because I will say 2022 was extremely competitive for cinematography. So much so to where movies like Top Gun Maverick, The Batman, The Fabelmans, Nope, all those movies did not get cinematography nominations. So, whereas this year it's not looking as competitive, if that makes sense. Number 9 is One Battle After Another. Now, I will say, considering Hamnet is so winning adapted screenplay, it's just being gift wrapped that award on a silver platter. It does make me wonder, like, all right, now PTA does not really need to win an Oscar, right, for this, because I genuinely do not think One Battle After Another is going to be more acclaimed than Hamnet at this point. Hamnet is, like, too big to be stopped by any other adapted screenplay contender, really. And again, there is also the aspect of, I don't know how well One Battle After Another is going to do at the box office, because they gave it a huge budget of over $100 million, which is insanity. And I don't think it's going to do well. And I know people will call me crazy. People are going to call me crazy when I say this, but I don't care. If this movie flops, Warner Brothers is not going to put as much effort into the campaigning as they would have if it were a box office smash hit. Because at that point, they're already going to campaign the shit out of Sinners. But if One Battle After Another flops, they're going to campaign the shit out of Sinners. Way more than ever. So, again, I don't know. Like, right now, again, I'm willing to go for it right here. But it could easily lose out. It could easily just come out, not do anything, and no one cares, and it could just drop out of Best Picture. That could just happen. That could happen. So we'll have to, and again, considering, Hamnet is winning adapted screenplay, that does mean it could be seen as less of a priority. And then finally, rounding out the 10, I'm actually still going to go with Is This Thing On? Because the trailer did come out, and it's actually a really good trailer, and it did help me get a sense of what kind of movie this is going to be. And this looks like it could be a much simpler film in Best Picture. Picture, original screenplay, maybe lead actress if Laura Dern goes lead here. But even if she were to go supporting, if this film is in Best Picture, she could still probably get that. If the drumming that we hear in the trailer, if that's original and that's like kind of like a constant in the film, that could maybe get a score nomination. The editing looks really interesting, and how it looks kind of, how I describe it, the editing from the trailer makes it feel very tense, even though the stakes are not that high, and which I think is a really good achievement. But again, we'll have to see how that goes. But right now, it's like, hey, like, Bradley Cooper could just get another one in. He could just get another film in. And I don't see any reason to fully doubt, Bradley Cooper as of now. Again, because I'm looking at some of these other picks, it's like, we do know how some of these films are being received now. Whereas, Is This Thing On, we still don't quite know. There's still a little bit of mystery in there. So I'm willing to say Is This Thing On could probably be, like, rounding out the 10 for me right now. So, yeah. Then we get to the next 5, and this is where things get really interesting, because a lot of these are now films that have been premiered at these fall fests. Begonia. Let's talk about Begonia. This is not going to be something like, The Favorite or Poor Things, where those films were like clearly top 5 for Best Picture. This one's not. But again, it is interesting, because on Letterboxd, it has a 3.8. And on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 100%, but the average rating is 7.3. And then on Metacritic, it has a 77 out of 100. So, like, if this were to get into Best Picture, it would be very much a bottom 5 contender. But also, there's probably not a lot that you could nominate this for, and especially with it being contemporary, because, for one, maybe, you could do Emma Stone, so she could be in. I know a lot of people are really raving Jesse Plemons' performance, but I don't know, especially with how things could be going. Maybe he's not really a priority for getting a lead actor nomination here. At least I don't see people talking about him nearly as much as Emma Stone. So there is that. And again, like, it's not like Begonia is going to win a adapted screenplay, because Hamnet's taking that in a handbasket. Like, if this were a situation where Begonia, or if Hamnet was not, like, let's say that Hamnet did not get the reviews it had, then, like, Begonia would be tempting, because there wouldn't really be another film in the running to win adapted screenplay. But again, now that we have Hamnet, Begonia's not really much of a priority then, So I'm not sure what to think about there. We'll have to see. And then there's No Other Choice, and this film's very interesting. All right, let's take a look at what it has. No Other Choice, it does not have a Letterboxd, full-on rating yet for some reason. But on IMDb, it has a 7.9 out of 10. That's, wow. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 100%, or at least 100% of the critics like it, with an average rating of 8.3 out of 10. And on Metacritic, it has an 88 out of 100. Now, that's really strong. But usually when it comes to international contenders, they're like the ratings are usually usually much stronger. Although, you could also maybe say with All Quiet on the Western Front, it had a 4.0 on Letterboxd, but on IMDb it had a 90%. No, not IMDb. On Rotten Tomatoes, it had a 90% with an 8.2 out of 10 average rating, and on Metacritic at a 76. But at the same time, All Quiet on the Western Front is a much more palatable kind of genre for the Academy. It's a war film. This is more of like a kind of strange commentary on class. So I'm not quite sure where No Other Choice is going to be. And also people aren't like coming out of it saying, oh yeah, this is Park Chan-wook's best film by far. It's not like that. So it's like, I feel like No Other Choice could get in, but it's also like, it just needed a little bit more acclaim, I feel. It just needed a little bit more acclaim. And again, there's also the other factor of, that would mean there would be 3 neon films in Best Picture. And I'm not sure they can do that. I'm not quite sure they can do that. I mean, maybe they could. Who knows? But like, that would be a pretty big risk to pull off. And again, for a film that's not as well reviewed as it could be, because again, fairly or unfairly, the bar, the expectation bar is kind of higher for the films that are not traditionally put into Best Picture. Like for kind of like more experimental kind of films, even though I'm not sure how experimental No Other Choice could possibly be. But like when it comes to like more experimental genres or international films, the bar is usually kind of higher in terms of how acclaimed does it need to be or how bold does it need to be. And I'm not quite seeing that with No Other Choice yet. We'll have to see. And then there's the interesting film, J. Kelly. Now, if you remember, I initially just always kept this in the top 5 throughout the whole year. Because, like, J. Kelly, it's directed by Noah Baumbach. It's probably not going to be as weird as something like, White Noise, where that film was clearly going for, like, a kind of different vibe than some of Baumbach's other films, like the Meyerowitz Stories or Marriage Story. J. Kelly kind of felt like it was going to be like one of those films, kind of going back to basics. But the problem, though, is at Venice, it did not get a great reception. The reception was not amazing. Let's take a look at where it stands right now, because it's also played at Telluride, but at the same time, it's not like people are saying, oh yeah, it's getting way better reviews out of Telluride. But I don't know, right now, like the curves on Letterboxd and IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic, they're still pretty similar to how they were. Like, you look at Letterboxd and it's basically a pyramid. It's basically pyramid shaped. You look at IMDb, the Letterboxd, no, not Letterboxd, the IMDb curve is very, very all over the place. Rotten Tomatoes initially looks strong, where it has an 85%, but the average rating is like 7 out of 10. And then you have Metacritic, and that is like a 64 out of 10, with 8, positive reviews, 6 mixed reviews, and 1 negative review. I'm not quite sure how this film's going to perform. Maybe we'll have to see what happens at the other fall fests, but again, something doesn't feel right about J. Kelly. I was initially just going to keep it off the list entirely, but with the Telluride reactions, I'm just not sure right now. I don't think it's going to happen. Because, again, it's like, how does a film like this come out of the gate with a more mixed response and recover? I'm not sure if it can. So, we will have to see. The Secret Agent, I mean, the trailer was actually released, and it looks like it's kind of trying to market itself to be very palatable for American audiences. But again, it is neon, and it's like they have so many heavy hitters right now. So I'm not sure. I mean, granted, they could nominate Wagner Moura. He could get like a Globe nomination. So we'll have to see how that goes. And granted, Brazil is behind this movie. If you know Brazilians, they will champion anything. They will champion their films to the highest end. But I don't want to just assume that, you know, I'm Still Here will happen again. But still, it has the acclaim. So we'll see. But I'm not quite expecting it right now. Then at number 15, I still have Wicked for Good. You know what I'm about to say. I just keep hearing from people that have seen the Wicked stage show that that at very least the second act is divisive. But however, I just don't think adding 2 new songs is going to solve it. If the story is just fundamentally not working, I don't think adding 2 songs is going to automatically fix it. Again, that's not me hating on it. I want to make it clear I am not hating on Wicked. The first Wicked was one of my favorite films of last year, so put your pitchforks down. I was rooting for Wicked way more than movies like Honora or Emilia Perez. So there's that. I'm not a Wicked hater. I'm just concerned. I'm just trying to be right. And I just don't know right now that Wicked's gonna pull it off. I mean, look, because again, like there is also the whole sequel factor to it, you know? Like Dune Part 2 underperformed despite being more well received than the last film. It got nominated for like what, half the awards that the first film was nominated for, and even got nominated for less awards than the first film won. So I don't know. They're probably not going to double dip in some of these categories for Wicked for Good if it's even well received enough to get into Best Picture anyways. So we will have to see what happens. Next, let's get to number 16, which is The Smashing Machine. This is still not premiered yet. I think it should be premiering sometime soon. I'm not sure. But hey, look, it is a biopic. Dwayne Johnson is going to be campaigning his ass off for a Best Actor nomination. And he's got that Martin Scorsese film coming at some point where he's probably going to get an Oscar nomination for that. But again, we'll have to see how The Smashing Machine pulls through. But I'm not quite sure. We'll have to see. And then there's The Ballad of a Small Player. I have this in because, again, who knows what Netflix is going to submit this year or like what their main drive is going to be, because they don't really have a lot going on. They really do not have a lot going on in terms of their competitors, or at the very least, nothing is looking like an obvious like push for Best Picture. Because I get Jay Kelly's not doing as well as we once thought. Frankenstein's not gonna happen. I don't think they're gonna really care about Train Dreams that much, which we'll get to here in a bit. And even now with Ballad of a Small Player, the reviews are good but not amazing. We don't have a whole lot of details on Letterboxd, but like the highest stacks are the 3 stars, 3.5 stars, and 4 stars. So there's that to keep in mind. So I'm not sure. Maybe it might not happen. Again, who knows if this just turns out to be like remotely just like kind of agreeable amongst general audiences, maybe. But I don't know how it's going to get in with this kind of a response. Like again, they're saying it's good, but it's not amazing. And then there's Anemone. I do want to keep my eyes out for Anemone because, I mean, it does look very unique. It does look, and plus you got Daniel Day-Lewis. And if there's one thing we know about Daniel Day-Lewis is that he doesn't really get nominated for movies that he's not also nominated for Best Picture in. Whether or not that'll hold true, we'll have to see, especially considering he came out of retirement to be in this movie. But it does look visually interesting for like a Best Picture film, because it does have the like really interesting cinematography angle of it, and you could maybe nominate Sean Bean, And if it's in Best Picture, you could probably, throw it in for original screenplay. Again, we'll have to see what happens, but, it is worth keeping an eye out for. Train Dreams, I just kind of have this in because it is like one of the few Netflix films that is like remotely really well acclaimed. We'll have to see. Hold on. Yeah, on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 97% and 8.2 out of 10 average rating. And on Metacritic, it has an 85. So again, it kind of does have the acclaim, but it's not as high profile as some of these other films. So I'm wondering, like, if all else fails, Netflix will just try to push Train Dreams, which maybe that could happen. Who knows? But yeah, I do want to keep my eye out for this. Wake Up Dead Man. I know people are going to say, really, you have that in there? I mean, look, it is Netflix, and, the previous two, Knives Out movies did pretty well with precursors, at least pretty well. What was it? The first Knives Out got nominated for like a few Golden Globes and even PGA. And with Glass Onion, it almost kind of did a little bit better with the precursors because it got nominated for a few of those Golden Globes. It got PGA, but also performed very well at the Critics' Choice Awards, getting a Best Picture nomination. So, I do want to know, like, how, like, this could be. Like, if this is, like, more diminishing returns, or if it actually gets a little bit more buzz than even Glass Onion. We'll have to see about that. But it is going to be nominated for adapted screenplay no matter what. And again, it probably could still get PGA like the other two movies, so it's at least worth considering. And then we get to House of Dynamite. Again, we're going to see some reactions to this somewhat soon, but like, I don't know. It still does not feel like a Best Picture film. I know it's Catherine Bigelow, but it looks like a Netflix thriller film that you would just randomly see. It doesn't look like something that would get like seriously considered for the Oscars. And that's just kind of how it looks. I mean, granted, we don't have a trailer for it yet, but it's just like, I just don't see it. I don't see it as a Best Picture thing. Again, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I just am not feeling it. I'm not feeling it right. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't know. Yeah. And then, obviously, War of the Worlds, that's obviously winning Best Picture, so there's no real reason to doubt that whatsoever. And yeah, guys, those are my Best Picture Oscar predictions for September, and I'm willing to bet by tomorrow, or even by the time this goes up publicly, this will not be as reflective of my current predictions. If you do want to stay up to date on that, check me out over on Award Expert. My handle is the Hannahcast, just like pretty much almost everywhere, really. So consider following me there. We just crossed 400 followers. So yeah, guys, now I'm going to pass the question off to you. What are your Best Picture predictions for September of 2025 for next year's Oscars? Let me know in the comments below what you think, and be sure you hit that subscribe button, because if you don't, you're not going to be made a Hamnet cheese sandwich.